Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavah Svinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. So we stopped here yesterday. Let's continue from here. Yeah, knowledge and error cannot coexist. Shraddha is not doing anything and at the same time being totally alive to the pramana, having abandoned prejudices about you, the world, and God. In fact, it is Shraddha that grants you this type of exposure. It is the attitude behind the exposure that brings one the knowledge. And against this knowledge, the ego is helpless because it is an error that has been corrected by the knowledge. No error is capable of standing as a coexistent partner to knowledge because knowledge and
बरेच होते जे लोक पुस्तकं वाचतात त्यांचे.
sorry, anything?
सॉरी.
So it is the attitude behind the exposure that brings one the knowledge. And against this knowledge, the ego is helpless because it is an error that has been corrected by the knowledge. No error is capable of standing as a coexistent partner to knowledge because knowledge and error cannot coexist. You can translate error as ignorance. Knowledge, ignorance cannot coexist, nor can the error come back once knowledge has taken place. An object of error cannot return to the same locus where knowledge already is. You may question this statement using the rope snake example. You may mistake a piece of rope for a snake and remove the error by seeing that the snake is actually a rope. But the very next day, you may again make the same error. This is possible because the existence of both the rope and the snake depends on a means of knowledge, your perception. And because the defect in your perception can occur again, the error can also occur again. Whereas the existence of Atma does not depend on any pramana. The self is not first seen by you and then recognized, as is the case with the rope snake. The self always is. Once the ignorance about the nature of the self is removed, there is no question of ignorance coming back. In fact, it is only a recognition of the self. It is not seeing the self. With reference to objects, out of sight can be out of mind. But Atma is never out of sight or out of mind. You may be out of mind, but you can never be out of Atma, the self. This self is not what is meant when people talk about the psychological self, biological self, anatomical self, familial self, or genetic self. These are subject to defects of every kind: genetic, pathological, physiological, and mental. Therefore, such a self is always unacceptable to you. Even anatomically, you cannot accept yourself. Your nose is not of the right shape, your hair is not of the right color, and so on. But this is not what we are discussing here. The self is different from all of this. So there can be irregularities and defects in all of the other forms of self which account for anatma. That is genetic, pathological, physiological, mental, familial, psychological, all of this. Everything is the self, and therefore there is no way of being out of oneself. When the ignorance goes, the ego also goes. In terms of knowing, I am not the ego. The ego that comes after this knowledge has taken place is not the same ego that was there before. It has become an enlightened ego. Because there is knowledge that there is no real self existent ego, you refer to it as enlightened, Jivan Mukta, one who is liberated while living. This is the person that Krishna refers to as Buddhiman in this verse. Ultimately, it is only a matter of terms. So, because there is no real self existent ego, ego is only a part of the antakarana, which again is part of the of creation.
Can you read that sentence where the ego will not be the same?
This ego, the ego that comes after this knowledge has taken place, is not the same ego that was there before. It has become an enlightened ego because there is knowledge that there is no real self existent ego. You refer to it as enlightened Jivan Mukta. See, that person does not feel I am enlightened. In the light of knowledge, error in the form of ego disappears. But because that person is still alive, you call him Jivan Mukta. And there is no self existent ego, there is only self existent Atma. That is why they just term it enlightened ego. But that enlightened ego is nothing but Atma, synonymous with Atma.
Thank you.
Okay, actually positive ego with awareness. It's actually awareness. Oh.
The enlightened ego, you can give the, the big self, the I. Nijam aham udeti. This aham is just standalone aham. It's just I am. It is nothing else. Doesn't say I am enlightened. I am good, or I am pure, or I am knowledge. No, there's no more. It's just aham brahmasmi. And
Like
that thing is standalone.
I am meditation, which we do.
Yeah, correct. Only that I exists. So that is not the same as the ego that was there before that. That is the ego that is connected to the physiological, pathological, familial, psychological self that says, oh, I have this defect and I have that deficiency and that insecurity, that limitation. Or even the I that says, oh, I am so great, I am so righteous. This Nijam Aham Udeti that Ramana Maharshi says, it's not like it is rising, it is always there. It is that it is uncovered, it is recognized. And this I is all um, the characterization of Atma. That is Sat Chit Ananda. Knowing I am not the doer has nothing to do with action. Buddhiman, the wise person, is the one who sees that even the so-called akarma, inaction, is nothing but karma. Yaha akarmani karma pashyet saha buddhiman. And Atma being akarta, and because one understands this fact about Atma, he or she sees akarma in karma itself. And because of that, he is a buddhiman. Yaha karmani akarma pashyet saha buddhiman. The person recognizes the fact of Atma being actionless, and that recognition, if it really is a recognition, is not altered whether karma is done or not done. This recognition has nothing to do with karma. It is the recognition of the Swarupa, the nature of Atma. I will read this para again. So, knowing I am not the doer has nothing to do with action. Buddhiman, the wise person, is one who sees that even the so-called akarma, inaction, is nothing but karma. Yaha akarmani karma pashyet saha buddhiman. And Atma being akarta, and because one understands this fact about Atma, he or she sees akarma in karma itself. And because of that, he is a buddhiman. Yaha karmani akarma pashyet saha buddhiman. The person recognizes the fact of Atma being actionless, and that recognition, if it really is a recognition, is not altered whether karma is done or not done. This recognition has nothing to do with karma. It is a recognition of the Swarupa, the nature of Atma. You do not, so it is basically a matter of understanding. It is not a matter of doing. You understand, recognize that you are Atma, that is Akarta. And therefore, Karmani Akarma Pashyet. So in karma, you see actionlessness. And in actionlessness, you see karma. That is, inaction is nothing but karma. That is what is recognized. You do not become a non-doer. You are already a non-doer. When we talk about the Swarupa of Atma, we say that Atma is essentially a karta. This statement is made with reference to kartritva, doership, that is superimposed on the Atma due to ignorance. Generally, one has the mistaken notion, I am a doer, aham karta. And the correction of this mistake makes you see that you are a karta. That you are a karta is a fact to be recognized. Therefore, you cannot ask, when will I be able to become a karta? Nowhere is it said that you have to become an akarta, a non-doer. Only that you must see akarma in karma itself. I'll repeat this paragraph. You do not become a non-doer. You are already a non-doer. When we talk about the Swarupa of Atma, we say that Atma is essentially Akarta. We say it is Akarta and Abhokta. This statement is made with reference to Kartritva, doership, that is superimposed on the Atma due to ignorance. So it is only because of this error. Generally, one has the mistaken notion, I am a doer, aham karta. And the correction of this mistake makes you see that you are a karta. So with the light of knowledge, you recognize that you are not a karta, you are a karta. That you are akarta is a fact to be recognized. Therefore, you cannot ask, when will I be able to become a karta? You are a karta. You only have to recognize it. Nowhere is it said that you have to become an akarta, a non-doer. Only that you must see akarma in karma itself. So with jnana, you see akarma in karma. There is no question of you becoming akarta. You are akarta. Atma is akarta, and to be akarta, you only have to see the fact. Then you are a buddhiman, a wise person among all people who have buddhis but do not use them. It is like the kripana. Kripana is who? The one who has the intellect but does not make use of it, and who dies without recognizing his true nature. Yaha kripanaha. So, buddhiman is a wise person among all people who have buddhis but do not use them. Buddhiman is a jivan mukta. Buddhiman is a jnani. Buddhiman is one who has recognized the Atma, the true nature, that is akarta, abhokta. And therefore, he is one who sees akarma in karma and karma in so-called akarma.
Do the Buddhiman will see the karma in akarma?
Yeah, karma in, as though akarta, inaction.
Because he akarta, so akarta means there will be no karma for them. So they will see only they are not doer, means you are a non-doer. So he will not see the karma in akarma or akarma in karma. Or that is the only essence. They will see the
That is the
karma in
only thing.
akarma and akarma in akarma.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that is the whole
Correct, correct.
description of a
Hmm.
Buddhiman is
Hmm.
one who sees inaction, actionlessness in action, because what he is recognized himself as Atma,
Hmm. Akarta. Hmm.
which is Akarta.
Hmm.
So that superimposition of Kartritva on the Atma is removed. So when that is removed in the light of knowledge, then where is the person, where is the Karta? There is no Karta. So he sees inaction in action and action in inaction. See, earlier we said inaction cannot be standalone, it cannot exist by itself. Even that is superimposed. Like examples were given standing, if you're just standing and not doing anything, but that standing is also an action. Because if it was inaction, you could stand forever, but you can't stand forever. Lying down is also an action. It seems as though it is inaction, but it is not. So therefore, he sees karma in akarma and sees akarma in karma. Understanding reality requires thinking. The meaning of Buddhiman is something like that of Dhanavan, a rich person, as we said before. To have money does not mean that you are a rich person. Only if you have money to give are you a rich person. See that qualification. A man who has money to spend on himself and on others when necessary is a rich man. Whereas a man with money who does not think he has enough to spend on himself or for a cause is simply a moneyed man. He is not a rich man. The difference between a moneyed person and a rich person is important to understand. The rich person is one who feels rich. So, difference between a moneyed man and a rich man. A rich man is one who not only has money, but he also feels rich and he can spend it on others or on himself. A man who has only a rupee in his pocket and gives it to someone who has not eaten for 2 days is a rich man because although he had so little, he had money to spare. He has no money, but he is rich. He is ready to spend. Whereas another man may have millions of rupees and may not be able to spend it on himself or on others. Such a person is moneyed but not rich. In other words, a miser, kripana. Similarly, in the Brihadaranyaka Yajnavalkya tells Gargi, the one who dies not knowing Brahman is a miser. Yeah, volume 1, 164. Why is he or she considered a miser? Because the person had an intellect that he or she never used. Just as money is of no use to a person who will not spend it, what is the use of having an intellect if you cannot or will not use it? Yeah, just give me a second. If in the meantime someone can unearth that shloka that says, Ya by, what is that? The Kripanaha. The in Brihadaranyukopanishad, Yajnavalkya tells Gargi.
यो वा एतदक्षरं गार्ग्य विदित्वास्मा लोकात् प्रेति सकृपणः अथ य एतदक्षरं गार्गी विदित्वा I am not able to read, but अथ य एतदक्षरं गार्गी विदित्वा अस्मात् लोकात् प्रेति स ब्राह्मणः. O Gargi, one who lives this world without knowing the imperishable reality Brahman is miser, Kripana. But one who departs from this world knowing that imperishable reality is truly a knower of Brahman.
Yeah, thank you, Satlaji, for getting the thing. Is it possible for you to share it on the group?
Yes, I will share now.
It's good for us to keep remembering these as we study, because I know not we don't get it, we have not got it by heart like.
That's so nice, Brahmaraji. You're on and off going to Upanishad
It
and
is 3.810 Bradaranyak Upanishad.
Yeah, did you post it on the group?
I am posting.
Okay.
1 second, only 1 second. Yeah, posted.
Yeah, so it is Yova etadaksharam gargi aviditva. This is too small, the thing. Aviditva asman lokat praiti sakrupanaha. अथ यः एतदक्षरं गार्गी विदित्वा अस्मान् लोकात् प्रैति स ब्राह्मणः. Oh, we didn't know this other one. The definition of both miser and brahmana are given. So, yova etadaksharam gargi aviditva asman lokat praiti sa kripanaha. And atha, therefore, यः एतदक्षरं गाति विदित्वा अस्मान् लोकात् प्रैति स ब्राह्मणः. So the one who leaves the body without recognizing the true self, etadaksharam gargi aviditva praiti asman lokat praiti sa kripanaha atha etadaksharam atha yah etadaksharam gargi viditva, having known or having recognized, asman lokat praiti sa brahmanaha. Such a person is a brahmana. Let us not confuse this brahmana with the four categories, that is the classification of society based on guna and karma. This brahmana is a jivan mukta, is a jnani. So similarly, in the Brihadaranya Upanishad, Yajnavalkya tells Gargi, the one who dies not knowing Brahman is a miser. Why is he or she considered a miser? Because the person had an intellect that he or she never used. Just as money is of no use to a person who will not spend it, what is the use of having an intellect if you cannot or will not use it? You know, in the light of this, Gurudev gave a very powerful sentence, which I want to read. The mind that seeks pleasure can never achieve the highest. If you are after pleasure, forget about satsang. Why are you wasting your time? This is the art of living. It's a pretty strong sentence, strong statement.
When the mind goes up,
Isn't it? So having this viveka, this intellect, and not using it amounts to being a miser.
Can you read that again? What Gurudev has said about
The mind that seeks pleasure can never achieve the highest. If you are after pleasure, forget about satsang. The satsang we understand is as knowledge here, not just sitting and singing. Forget about satsang. Why are you wasting your time? This is the art of living.
So beautiful and powerful. Oh my God.
Basically, to get our priorities right. If you are after artha kama, forget about moksha. Again, it is the same Gurudev who says life is a celebration. He does not mean you should sit with a long face and, you know,
No, this celebration is different actually. But what he
different.
says, yeah,
Correct.
this celebration comes out of that Atma Jnana.
Exactly. Comes out of that inner fullness, that inner contentment. It is not coming out of a need to feel complete.
When we are discussing it, that rope and snake, when that perception changes again, we become like that. So in knowledge also, many times we means mechanically we things we are Atma and all that, and we feel after satsang or means that satsang bhajan or advanced courses, we feel very happy, and then again come back to home and again same.
Correct.
So knowing that Satchit Ananda goes away in the sansara, but after that, when you say, no, it is touching now how the celebration is. Life is celebration.
When you're centered in the self and you're only witness conscious, definitely life is a celebration.
So truth is multidimensional, no? It is not linear. So you can't hold on to this and say, oh, uh, then what about what Ishavasya Upanishad says? The world is there for you to enjoy. Everything is there for you to enjoy. So there can be a bit of seeming contradiction in the mind with the words of the Shastra, but what we need is to get 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 the right meaning and the right intention of what is meant by these, the interpretation, right interpretation. So not to get entangled in the world, enjoy the world knowing that you are a karta, you are a bhokta. Like how Krishna very nicely signifies the way he stands. His one foot is rooted completely flat on the floor. The other, only the toes are touching the floor. It's like how Gurudev says, walk lightly, like walk as if you're walking on clouds.
Jai
But the
Gurudev Brahmaraji. Could you
yes,
please explain once again that Krishna's standing 1 feet and half feet on the ground, please?
yeah, it is one interpretation of how he stands is his one foot is completely on the floor, flat, right? The other foot is crossed against. It goes over this foot and only the toes are touching the floor. So one interpretation of this is that he is rooted in Atma Jnana. He is very lightly in this Vyavahara, in this Vyavaharika Satya. His toes are just slightly touching. It's not like he is not doing his job. He was given the job of a charioteer. He did his job 100%. But being rooted in Jnana. So being rooted in Atma Jnana, you go around in this world doing what is to be done. But we are all, how are we? It is the other way around. We are rooted in the world, in the Vyavahara. We have a conceptual knowledge, oh, that I am Atma. It is still not become, we are not Jnana. I'm speaking about myself. I'm not a Jnana Nishta yet. So therefore, there is this yo-yo thing that goes on. There are moments when you recognize, when you feel very full, very secure. When you're meditating, when I'm meditating, or soon after a knowledge session, you feel, yes, this is it. But that state doesn't stay. Why? Because the the error has not been completely removed. It is only in the form of a concept. But once that, it's like that, how knowledge is covered by smoke, by dust on a mirror. So it depends on how strong that ignorance is, or the fetus being covered by the womb. So once that layer of ignorance is removed, that error is removed, that superimposition of anatma and atma is removed, then you shine forth with that atma jnana. And then, like as a Jivan Mukta, you continue to live like how Krishna lived. He came in as an avatara with a purpose to re-establish dharma. Dharma is always there. He had to protect the dharmis and destroy the adharmis. So that standing on one foot firmly is meant that standing in, is being a jnana nishta. Likewise, Gurudev also says, walk lightly, like you're walking on the clouds, recognizing that all this is it's just a superimposition. So just as money is of no use to a person who will not spend it, what is the use of having an intellect if you cannot or will not use it? One who has a buddhi and does not spend it is also a miser. Such a person uses as little intellect as possible, keeping it as it is. A man may exercise his intellect just a little to learn something in order to please his parents. He may even get a job, but that is the maximum he is willing to use his intellect for. He does not read anything, not even the newspaper. He sits staring at the TV without using his intellect at all. Why should he use why should he use it for this kind of life? He need not use it at all. No real thinking is ever done by such a person. So he's very passive. He's just living life just for the sake of living. But real thinking is thinking about realities. Because you are dealing with reality, there must be thinking. Otherwise, you are dealing only with shadows. If the realities are not known, you may be fighting in areas where no fighting is required. One who thinks about the fundamental reality of himself, the world, and God, who knows what it is all about, is a buddhiman. This person is rich. He or she has an intellect to use and to spare. The buddhiman has used the buddhi for himself or herself and shares the knowledge gained with others.
Fighting with shadows, you're saying, is so beautiful. Like that bird, what they were saying, no? It's seeing with the mirror and keep on hurting itself.
Right.
Oh, it's so profound.
I will read these two paras again. So one who has a buddhi and does not spend it is also a miser. Such a person uses as little intellect as possible, keeping it as it is. A man may exercise his intellect just a little to learn something in order to please his parents. He may even get a job, but that is the maximum he is willing to use his intellect for. He does not read anything, not even the newspaper. He sits staring at the TV without even using his intellect at all. Without using his intellect at all. Why should he use it for this kind of life? He need not use it at all. No real thinking is ever done by such a person. Real thinking is thinking about realities. Because you are dealing with reality, there must be thinking. Otherwise, you are dealing only with shadows. If the realities are not known, you may be fighting in areas where no fighting is required. I repeat this, if realities are not known, you may be fighting in areas where no fighting is required. One who thinks about the fundamental reality of himself, the world, and God, who knows what it is all about, is a buddhiman. This person is rich. He or she has an intellect to use and to spare. The buddhiman has used the buddhi for himself or herself and shares the knowledge gained with others. See, this thinking is equivalent
Here,
to
here,
contemplation.
what type of fighting is there? Means they want to say.
For
Means
instance, you
Swamiji
may
want to
be
say.
fighting to protect your ego or to protect whatever you. So you may be fighting in areas where no fighting is required. Remember all the 5 knowledge points.
But in
Not to steal.
transactional world, we cannot. Means in transactional world, we have to accept and do no. So that means accordingly we have to work. So here, what type of fighting is there? Means it is a like the reality what I am not and I am, means that
Yeah.
I'm confused.
So what is this reality? If realities are not known, reality is that Atma is
Hmm.
akarta, Atma is abhokta. Whereas when you may be fighting in areas where no fighting is required, someone has said something, and then you start feeling bad, and then you fight back. So you see, where there is no fighting required, you are fighting. So you do not accept people as they are. You see an intention behind their mistake. You become a football of others' opinion. So you see where the mind is getting caught up in karta and bhokta. But reality is what? Being a buddhiman, being in the knowledge that Atma is standalone, Atma is akarta. But this sentence also is very powerful, like Malti ji said, because you're dealing with reality, there must be thinking. Otherwise, you are dealing only with shadows. We could do manana on just this sentence. Yeah.
So even there was some mentioning, right? There's nobody other than you here. Everything is empty, he was saying. Nobody is here. This world is a reflection of your own.
So the cleaner the antakarana, the cleaner the reflection you see, even in others.
This thinking is what is required, because this thinking, reflection, processing makes the mind more and more mature. See, getting this knowledge, Shravana, is on one side. Thinking involves manana and nididhyasana require thinking. Shravana requires listening. Yes, we are all listening to this knowledge. But how do we make it useful to us? How do we make it transform? How do we get it? How do we get the what the knowledge actually is meant for? Is meant for maturing the mind, and for that thinking is required, isn't it? Otherwise, it only remains a concept. We will only be saying a few words here and there, but like an armchair Vedantin. But when you actually look into whether there is any inner polishing happening inside the mind, there will be none. It's like a like a hypocrite, like what Krishna says is a mityachara. He's a hypocrite. He's only proclaiming himself to be a sannyasi, but he's not. Proclaiming himself to be a jnani, but he's not. Because deep within, there is still a lot of immaturity, a lot of aviveka.
Very true. It's like a parrot knowledge that
Correct.
you are just memorizing and you are just telling, but you do
Correct.
not understand, you neither implement. So there is a difference between the Brahma Jnani and Brahmanishtha. Same Tattva Jnani and Tattva Nishtha. The one who has knowledge but he doesn't apply, then he is a Kripana.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Hmm.
You're
Very
just gathering
beautiful.
information. That's all you want to
Yeah.
show.
Hmm.
So therefore, this beautiful thing, three things are required: Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. See, otherwise it's like that person watching TV. If we are, attending, listening to knowledge, just like how we watch TV passively, without any active involvement, without the thinking aspect, without the reflections, without processing it, without applying it in our lives, then it's as good as someone who's sitting and lazily watching TV all the time. No intellect being used.
So this is like the akarma. He's not doing the karma. He is in that akarma state. But because he's lacking that buddhi, that is unknown of that reality. So he is example of given of this boy who is told by his parents to sit and study. So he is just like he's following the orders, but he doesn't know the importance of it. That the reality that he should study and achieve something like some of gaining knowledge, which may be helpful in any of the fields. So he is like he is doing a karma, but he is not having the knowledge of reality. That is what is behind that, the goal behind it. Because and if we talk of the buddhiman is like he knows that that in action there is no action in karma, whether like he understands the nature of atma, so he recognizes the fact that atma being action, atma is like actionless, is like he if he's doing karma, any karma, he's it is again the atma is not the karta. He's again in that akarma state, because he recognizes the swarupa of atma. So that reality which he has, that reality, knowing that reality, he is buddhiman. So he's that line that was akarmani karma akarmani karma pashyet, yeah, that. So he doesn't knowing that reality, he knows that even if he's not doing anything, the action is happening, because that is the swarupa of atma. And this is the reality which because this paragraph, I think they are talking about the buddhiman. Real thinking is thinking about the reality, and if one is not thinking, then he is just dealing with shadows. Like we can take this example of this boy who just sits. He doesn't know the exact reality. So he's just sitting, just gazing and not doing anything, not reading anything. I was relating it like the buddhiman will always remain in that akarma state, though doing karma, because he acknowledges he has known the swarupa of Atma. So whether he is doing or he is not doing, he is in that state. Yeah.
Nice. It's very nice. But see, another thing, you're dealing only with shadows. Because you're dealing with reality, there must be thinking. Otherwise, you are dealing only with shadows. Can also be looked at as if you're just watching a movie. But here, so again, putting two and two together, what Gurudev talked about, if one is after pleasure, forget about the art of living, forget about satsang. So there, that thinking is required. Viveka, using your viveka is required. It depends on how strong our viveka is. And how do we develop this viveka? Knowledge. Knowledge sharpens the intellect. Although it is one of the pillars of knowledge, again, the more and more we are in this knowledge and the more we are using this, it's not enough if we just listen to it. The more manana is happening, the more nididhyasana is happening. At the seat of contemplation, you churn this in and out again and again. Then that will be a strong pillar. It has to be strengthened. The intellect, viveka, has to be strengthened sufficient enough for us to make a decision. See, because it's a choice. In one way, if you look at life, it is choiceless. You just do what is to be done. Not much of thinking is required. But then, at the same time, in order to handle raga dveshas, you have to use your viveka. We'll stop here today. We'll do this one more time tomorrow and then go on to almost at the next verse. This actually is a pretty long verse, yeah. But it's good that, we get at least get the gist of what is being intended to. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Vela, if you're able to, can you just sing those two few stanzas of Ekameva Dvitiyam Brahma?
Only one or two stanzas I remember because I am
No
outside
problem.
taking. Yeah.
No problem. Only if you're able to. Don't push yourself.
Yeah.
If you're able. Yeah. Go ahead.
एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म निर्गुणं निश्चलं निर्विकारम् एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म ब्रह्मैव सत्यम्.
So beautiful, Bella. So beautiful.
Jai Gurudev.